No one thought that a simple meeting that night would turn into a story people would never forget. The night was colder than anyone expected. A thin fog wrapped itself around the quiet streets, and the yellow glow of streetlights barely cut through the darkness. It was the kind of night when the world felt still, almost as if something important was about to happen. On a lonely street in a small American town, a young man walked slowly with tired steps. His hands were buried deep in the pockets of his worn-out jacket, and his eyes looked heavy with the weight of a life that had not been kind to him. That young man's name was Daniel Carter, and though he was only 26 years old, his life already felt like a long story of struggle. Before we continue this emotional journey, take a moment to like this video, comment where you are watching from, share this story with someone who believes in kindness, and subscribe to the channel if you believe that sometimes one small moment can change a person's entire life. Because Daniel's life was about to change forever, and it would all begin on this one unforgettable night. Daniel had come to America 5 years earlier with hope shining brightly in his heart. He had believed the stories people often told about opportunity, about second chances, about the idea that if you worked hard enough, life would eventually reward you. But life had other plans. The first few years had been brutal. Daniel worked long hours in restaurants, warehouses, and construction sites. Some days he slept only 4 hours. Some nights he skipped meals just to save a little extra money. Then came the problems no one warns you about: a sudden layoff, bills piling up, rent that kept increasing, friends slowly drifting away as everyone became busy fighting their own battles. Eventually, Daniel lost his job, and when the job disappeared, everything else started falling apart too. The apartment was gone within weeks. His phone service was cut off. The little savings he had disappeared faster than he imagined. Now Daniel spent most nights walking the streets, searching for warmth inside late-night diners or bus stations. Sometimes he would sit on a bench and stare at the bright city lights in the distance, wondering how millions of people could live so close together, yet someone could still feel completely alone. That particular night felt heavier than usual. A cold wind pushed through the empty street, and Daniel pulled his jacket tighter around his body. He had not eaten properly in 2 days. His stomach felt hollow, and his mind kept drifting between exhaustion and quiet sadness. As he walked, he passed a small grocery store that was just about to close. Bright lights spilled onto the sidewalk through the glass doors, and the smell of warm bread drifted into the air. Daniel stopped for a moment. He looked through the window at the shelves filled with food. People inside laughed casually while paying for groceries. For them, it was just another normal evening. For Daniel, it felt like another reminder of everything he had lost. He turned away slowly and continued walking. But just a few steps later, something unexpected happened. A voice called out from behind him, not loudly, just gently. Daniel turned around and saw an older woman standing near the entrance of the grocery store. She looked to be in her late 60s, wearing a thick gray coat and holding a small bag of groceries. Her face carried the calm kindness that some people seem to have naturally. She looked at Daniel carefully. There was something about the way he walked, something about the quiet sadness in his eyes, that she had noticed immediately. Without saying much, she walked toward him and handed him the small bag. Inside were a sandwich, a bottle of water, and 2 apples. For a moment, Daniel simply stared at the bag, confused. He hadn't asked for anything. He hadn't even spoken. Yet somehow this stranger had understood exactly what he needed. The woman gave him a warm smile and gently placed the bag in his hands. Then she said something that Daniel would remember for the rest of his life. She told him that sometimes the hardest nights are the ones that lead to the brightest mornings. After that, she quietly walked back toward her car and drove away. Daniel stood there on the sidewalk, holding the small bag. The street was silent again. But something inside him had changed. For the first time in months, he didn't feel invisible. He sat down on a nearby bench and slowly opened the sandwich. The simple meal felt like the best food he had eaten in weeks. As he ate, he kept thinking about the woman's words. The hardest nights lead to the brightest mornings. It sounded simple, but somehow it felt powerful. Daniel realized something in that quiet moment. His life had been filled with disappointment, but this small act of kindness proved something important. Not everyone in the world had forgotten how to care, And maybe, just maybe, his story wasn't finished yet. The next morning, Daniel woke up earlier than usual. The sky was painted with soft shades of orange and pink as the sun rose over the city. For the first time in a long while, he felt a small spark of determination. Instead of wandering aimlessly, he decided to visit every place he could think of that might be hiring. The first few attempts failed, then the next few, but Daniel kept going. Hours later, he walked into a small auto repair shop at the edge of town. The owner, a middle-aged man named Robert, looked at Daniel carefully as he explained that he was looking for any kind of work. Robert noticed something in Daniel's eyes, not desperation, determination. He gave Daniel a chance. At first the job was simple, cleaning tools, organizing equipment, and helping around the garage. But Daniel worked harder than anyone expected. Weeks turned into months. Robert began trusting him with more responsibilities. Eventually Daniel learned how to repair engines, change transmissions, and manage customers. Slowly, life began to rebuild itself. 2 years later, Daniel had his own small apartment again. 3 years later, he became the manager of the shop. But the thing Daniel never forgot was that cold night. He never forgot the small grocery bag. And he never forgot the stranger who had changed everything with one simple act of kindness. Because of that moment, Daniel made a promise to himself. Whenever he saw someone struggling the way he once had, he would help. Sometimes it was a warm meal. Sometimes it was a job opportunity. Sometimes it was just a kind word that reminded someone they were not alone. Years later, Daniel would often drive past that same grocery store late at night. He never saw the woman again. He never even learned her name. But her kindness had created a ripple effect that changed far more than one life. And it all began on that one quiet night in America. Before we reach the ending of this story, I have a special request for you. Please comment the word kindness if you believe one small act of kindness can truly change someone's life. Your comment might inspire someone reading it right now. Because stories like this remind us that even in the darkest moments, humanity still shines. And if this story touched your heart even a little, please like the video, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to the channel so more people can hear stories that restore faith in kindness and second chances. Sometimes life changes slowly. Sometimes it changes all at once. But for Daniel Carter, everything changed on that one night in America.